and welcome along to the Panto podcast. This week my guest is radio presenter, dame, impressionist, writer and comedian Terry Gauci. In this episode he told me how he was taught to dance, doing something different in an audition, and you'll find out that you never know where you're going to be performing. Also, listen out for the best Ken Goodwin impression I've ever heard. So settle down there everyone and enjoy the latest Panto podcast. My guest for today's Panto podcast is Terry Gauci. How are you doing, mate?
I'm very well, thank you very much. Looking forward to Panto.
Yeah? Where are we now? Where are we? July?
Yeah, July.
Are you signed up?
I'm quite lucky really. I've been with a good company for, this is year 9. So the next year they're already talking to me about what we're doing for the 10th celebration, and I'm like, well, let's get this one out. What with the pandemic and everything, I don't want to start promising them the world and we don't deliver. So I don't want to be like Boris and and then go lockdown. So yeah, we're just backing off a little bit and saying, look, let's just put the celebration on hold. But yeah, we plan the Panto. Believe it or not, people think you just turn up December the 1st, shut down December the 31st, and you're unemployed then for the next 11 months. It doesn't work like that. January we start talking about the next contract the next year, and then we start writing the script, because the last 3 or 4 years I've been co-writer as well of this particular company, KD Theatre Productions, and from there we start planning the Panto. So by April you're already getting your Panto head on. And now this sort of time, literally, you come and join me. 3 days ago, we had a photo shoot for this year's Panto. So all the cast get together and the makeup artist comes out, makes me look beautiful as a dame. Yeah. As a dame. Yeah, you don't want me doing the makeup. It's all right on stage where you're sitting like 4 or 5 rows away. But for a photo shot when your face is being blown up like 20 foot tall for a poster and a billboard, you don't want some ugly face like mine peering out from behind the makeup and scaring all the kids.
Do you come from a theatrical or comedic family then?
Not at all. My dad had a rough childhood. He was brought up in the East End. His dad, Maltese Merchant Navy, and absconded from the Maltese Merchant Navy. So he was an immigrant that came to the UK. So he had a real tough life. He was a gambler. My grandfather, this is Sam Gauci. He was a gambler, also a good chef and a businessman, but every penny that he earned in the business went on gambling, and my dad used to sleep on pool tables and like any little sofa and that. So he had a real rough childhood, my dad. Subsequently he got into crime. He knocked about with the craze back in the day in the East End, because that was so it's a little bit of a it's a little bit of a
Am I getting out of this podcast alive?
No, you're fine. It was one of those where that's all my dad kind of knew as a young man, and then he got on the straight and narrow after when he met my mum, so that was great. My mum from a totally calmer background, but I think somewhere in the family history they used to have an old piano sitting in the corner of the living room, and one of my great granddads used to play it, and everyone would have a sing song and a good old knees up. You know, the traditional sort of London way, really, the old Cockney. Get round the old Joanna, here we go, apples and pears, and knees up, Mother Brown, all that old, hey, here we go. So I think that's the closest it gets to being theatrical. But my family were gobsmacked when I got into the entertainment industry. They really were shocked, because I'd said up until the point of being 14, I was like, I want to be a milkman, a postman, a footballer, tennis player, a jockey, because my dad was into horse racing as well. I said that I wanted to be everything, but I didn't say about a radio presenter or an entertainer, and I ended up being an entertainer. So there you go.
Were you a funny kid then?
I think that's what got me through school, really. I was the kind of kid that I'd walk to school with a big smile on my face. All the other kids would wonder why I was smiling, and they'd just gather round, and then I'd just make people laugh. And I don't know why. I just have no idea. I was great at sport. I was everybody's friend. You know, if there was a kid that got bullied, I'd put my arm around him and make him a mate, and I'd bring him into the crowd, and then he felt part of it. And I used to sort of chase the girls as well, so that was good. I had the gift of the gab back in the day, play a bit of kiss chase with the girls, and then it'd be war with the boys in the trees. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Count to 10, you're dead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm alive again. Chase the girls. So anyway.
So what then sort of was your first kind of experience of performing as such?
Oh, the first experience of performing was back in 1990 when I got my first job at Warner's Holidays at Gunton Hall. I'd applied for the job when I was 15, so I was still at school. I went for the audition in London, and the lady said to me, Terry, can I just confirm your age? Are you 16 or 15? And I went, I'm 15. She went, so you haven't left school yet? And I went, no. I said, but I don't really want to do my exams. I can't be bothered to revise. I just want to work in entertainment. And there isn't a subject in school that can teach me the world of entertainment. So anyway, she said, look, we can't offer you a job at this age. Can I invite you back next year? And we're going to just sort of put a little asterisk by your name, and we're going to keep a lookout for you, because we can't believe the confidence you've got. And at that stage, I'd already done 2 years working weekends at a radio station. So it was like, wow. Plus I was DJing on a Friday night for the local discos. They were setting up the gear, and I was just going there with my vinyl records that my auntie had given me and spinning a few tunes and chatting away on the microphone, and all the DJs are going, we don't know where we got him from, but any great, this kid, he's 14 and he's like yakking away on the microphone. So that was kind of like where it all stemmed from. But my first real experience, was on the holiday parks. And I started then at 17. I got my first job. I was 16 when I started at Gunton Hall on the Tuesday, and my birthday was on the Friday, the day it opened for that summer season. So it was February the 16th, 1990. And I'm sure if you check back, that's a Friday. And that's the day it all started. And then I was working that first summer season with people like Bob Monkhouse, Bob Carroll G's. I'm trying to name drop as many people as I can think of here. Aidan J. Harvey, all old school comics. Stan Boardman was another one that we had. And wow, I was just in awe of all these people that came along and performed. And I believe you're doing an interview with Rusty Goff soon.
Yes.
Now that might be before or after, depending on how it all works out with the interviews. But Rusty Goff was also one of our cabarets that year in 1990. What a talent that man is.
And he just...
Yeah, superb. So that was kind of it, really. And I was getting sent out by the Ents managers going, go and ask the ladies to waltz and quick step. And I was there as a DJ, like putting a band on. And I was going, you're joking? They went, no, it's all part of your job. Got to get out there. And so I was going up to I don't know, Doris and I go, excuse me, Doris, I don't know how to dance. I said, I'm only 17. They keep making me do it. And then, oh, don't you worry. I'll get you up and I'll have a little dance with you. Here we go. And it's 1, 2, 3. Oh, 1, 2, 3. And I go, oh, right, yeah. And then they'd start saying to me, oh, you laugh like Norman Wisdom. And then I'd start doing a bit of walk like Norman Wisdom. And then, I couldn't do the voice back then. Now, Mr. Grimsdale, and then I started like trying to mimic him. And then started doing stuff like that, and then of course it developed, and then I got the hunger for being a comedian, which then the life took a whole new curve really from there, from radio DJing to wanting to stand up there and tell jokes for a living.
Do you remember your first stand-up gig?
I remember before I did a stand-up gig, I remember entering some talent shows because someone advised me and they said, look, you need to sort of hone your skills and get your act sharpened before you go out there as a cabaret artist. And not only that, agents wouldn't touch you. They wouldn't just get a picture of Terry Gauci and go, oh yeah, I'll give him a chance at the Dog and Duck or at the Conservative Club down the road. You wouldn't get a chance. So you had to hone your skills by doing talent shows and getting some videos together. And I remember one idea that I had was to do this Freddie Mercury finale, and the punchline was going to be that the leotard was up my bum. So my bum cheeks would be hanging out as I turned around to do the clapping, thinking that would absolutely storm it. And as I stripped off, and so they could see the front of me with the leotard on, they're already cracking up. And I'm thinking, wow, this routine is going down a storm. Wait until they see my bum. This is going to... I turned round and it kind of was the same. And I thought, well, that was a bit strange. Don't really know what went on there. Anyway, they throw over to the judges at the end, and one of the judges who I'm still friends with today, I call him the Doc, Anthony Doherty, And he went, "Oh my days," he said, "Terry Gauci," he said, "I am never going to forget this night." He said, "For as long as I live," he said, "all I can say is you remind me of that stall down Covent Garden, more balls than most." Now, when I got the video home, I realised that one of my knackers was hanging out of the leotard as I'm doing the Freddie Mercury. So when I dropped my trousers, one of my knackers is actually hanging out of the leotard that I'm wearing, and that's what they were laughing at. Nothing to do with the Freddie Mercury impression or anything like that, and nothing to do with the backside. So that's one of my first sort of stand-up moments. So quite a standout sort of thing, really.
Just a bit, yeah,
depending on where you were sitting.
Shame Doris wasn't there, eh?
Oh yeah, poor old Doris in the front row. I remember when you just did normal wisdom.
She might have had a stroke if she could have reached. But there's an old gag. Do you think I could keep that bit in? Oh, what the hell? So, how then did you kind of transition into Panto?
I just think it's a natural thing for entertainers when you're working in comedy or you're treading the boards and you're dying on your backside at holiday parks and throughout the year, and then you're doing social clubs and in corporate gigs, and you want to make an audience laugh. That's our goal, isn't it? As a comedian, as a stand-up, you kind of want to make the audience laugh, and you want the best response ever, and you want to feel good when you're driving home, not sitting there going, "Oh my days, what happened there? No one was laughing. Why is the material not working?" And that insecurity. Now, I think as a solo comic, you have a lot of times where you're on your own. And I remember driving down to Minehead, working for Butlins on a Wednesday afternoon. I'd leave at 3 PM. I'd get there for about 7. I'd be on stage for about 9 o'clock, be off stage by 10, and then I'd be driving home again. And all that time I've spent in the car on my own. So I think when Panto comes around for an entertainer or for a solo act, you kind of go, do you know what? It'd be nice to be around people and have the audience adulation of you making them laugh, but as part of a whole scene, as part of a whole show, and then working with different people. You learn off of other people as well, and it's nice to be around and share personalities and stories in the dressing room. That's for me. That's why I kind of anchored to do pantomime. I always thought, do you know what? It'd be nice, because corporate gigs for a comedian, most will tell you that they are just like a nightmare. You've got Stuart and Shirley want to cop off with each other to Lady in Red from the DJ. I'm going back a few years there, by the way, listeners. But that's all they're interested in, and no one's interested in you, or they want to talk business or whatever, and you're up there trying to do your best gags, and everyone's going, "Get off, mate. Like, Frank's funnier than you, and he does the photocopying." And you're going, "All right, great," And rather than keep dying at Christmas, it's nicer to be at a pantomime. I mean, what a fun environment. And I know you love pantomime. That's why you're doing this.
A little bit.
Yeah, but Panto, I just think it's one of those things where everyone can just enjoy it, can't they? Just let their hair down, and you can also cross lines in Panto, which I like.
Well, did you go and see Pantos when you were a kid?
No, not really. It wasn't a thing that my mum and dad really did. For like the Panto was always at our house. My mum and dad would go out at the weekends and bring like a house full of people back, and everyone would have a party. So it was one of those, really. And my mum, she did sort of encourage myself, my sister and my cousin, like during the summer holidays and that. We used to put little shows on for our aunties and my nan. They used to come round, and we'd do like little variety shows. But my mum used to make us learn all the old London songs. So there was nothing modern in there. There's like my cousin, she loved Madonna, but there was never going to be a Madonna song in there. It was always like Lonnie Donegan, does your chewing gum lose its flavour and all that stuff. So no, I didn't really. So it's not really a love of watching Panto. It's more from a performer's like perspective.
What was the first Panto then you did?
Wow, professional.
Professional, yeah.
Yeah.
No, let's go. Kind of.
Well, amateur.
Dare I say amateur?
Yeah. I was working doing a local radio station, and a guy was like following me with the show after, and he was part of an Amdram. And he said, "Terry," he said, "I think you'd be great if you get involved in like doing pantos and stuff." He said, "Why don't you come along to the local Amdram group and come and see if like it's for you?" So I went along there, and they asked me to read for a part as it was one of the King's Guards. I'm trying to remember the panto now, but anyway, it was one of the King's Guards. I'm pretty sure it was Jack and the Beanstalk. And I played Papworth, and the other one was called Everard. Well, there's a local place round here called Papworth Everard. I don't know if you're aware of the local area, but anyway, so of course that was like the gag, the innuendo, Papworth and Everard. Yeah, great. And then we did I don't know if you know of the sketch, but the Norman Wisdom and Bruce Forsyth painting and decorating sketch. And we did that in that particular panto, and everyone was in hysterics. And from there, everyone just went, you should do more and more of this panto stuff. And 2 years later after that, that would have been in 99, I went on a tour in panto, professional panto, my first one, for Jerry Graham, who I think Jerry Graham's stuff is still out there touring. And off we went, and that's where I met my wife as well. So I played PC Pong in Aladdin. And I got a story for you there, I tell you. PC Pong in Aladdin, on our tour sheet, there was Broadmoor on there. So I said to the tour manager, I said, what's that? Broadmoor, yeah, the prison, like that. And you're not allowed to call it a prison, apparently, it's a hospital. But anyway, he went, yeah, it is. And I thought he was joking until the day when we're actually driving up to Broadmoor Hospital and we're going, no, we're really going in here? And then I thought, well, we must be doing the panto to the prison officers and their families. No, we were actually doing it for the patients, as they call them. And so the people that were in there were all the unsavoury people you could probably think of that ever were in Broadmoor around that time. And I think the Yorkshire Ripper was one of them. So there's a story.
What was it like then, going on stage for that
Well,
audience?
Well, first of all, I was playing the comic and I was PC Pong, dressed like in a pink outfit as PC. So great. That was a fantastic start for me, because as soon as I walked on, they booed me, which being booed as a comic is like unheard of. Abanaza got a cheer, and all they kept saying was killer, killer, every time like he was anywhere near the princess. So it was kind of daunting. And the best story of all of this was there's a bit where I got put through the mangle slapstick. So I got a huge cheer from the 200 prison patients. So they all went, hey, as I got mangled. And then I'm supposed to run through and do a quick change. So I ran out the side door, and as I ran out the side door, one of the patients was being escorted down the corridor at the same time. And we are literally walking, if you can imagine, there's the officer in the middle, the patient one side, and I'm the other side of this tight corridor. And as we're walking down, I can feel him constantly looking at me. These eyes are burning through me, and I'm thinking, just keep looking forward, just keep looking forward. And the corridor just seemed to get longer and longer and longer. And I was heading for where our dressing room was, which was their hairdressers, okay? So as we're getting closer and closer to the door, I put my hand on the hairdresser's door. He puts his hand on the door opposite, which was their toilets. And he went, oi! And I looked at him and he went, you're naff like Lee Evans. And I went, oh my God. And I pushed the door open and I went, oh, you ain't going to believe what's just happened to me. I just had one of the patients call me Lee Evans. Could have been worse. Anyway. So yeah, that was a real frightening experience, but weird.
And then the leap into pro panto.
Yeah, well, that was like a pro tour. So it kind of, you get the bug from that. As soon as a tour in panto is one thing, then you kind of go, I really want to be based in one theatre, one place, rather than be on the road. Because being on the road is pretty hard going. You know, when you're doing schools in the morning, you might have 2 shows there, then you do an evening at a social club. Touring pantos can be hard graft. We had a lot of fun. I'm not knocking it at all, but I was a lot younger then. And then I went back again for... the following year, I missed that because I joined a comedy show band. Hopefully you've heard of them, the Brother Lees. So I joined the Brother Lees and I had a fantastic 18 months with Tony, and I learnt so much from the original member, Tony Lee, or Tony Dyball is his original name. And honestly, it was one of the best times of my life because I learnt so much. We appeared on the Generation Game with Jim Davidson. We'd had a custard pie fight with Mr. Blobby, dressed as 3 Norman Wisdoms. I mean, you know, getting paid to be Norman Wisdom on BBC television, you go, oh, well, that's all right. Yeah, I've cracked it here. And then you're gigging in the evening. So I missed that year out of Panto. And then the following year, because I'd done that, Jerry Graham said to me, I believe that you've come out of the Brother Lees, like Tony's now retired. What's happening? Are you interested in Panto? And I went, yeah, go on, I'll do another tour. But this particular tour was only at 4 venues. So we did like a week at each venue, which was much better. Pocklington was in there somewhere. I can't remember the other venues, but I think Scarborough, that might have done the Spa at Scarborough. And that was fantastic. I really enjoyed that. And I played Seth the Surf, and I think it was Robin Hood or something we were doing. But then I had a long break from Panto, a really long break while I was doing stand-up. And I went back to doing solo comedy, and my sort of career took off in sort of that way. And I kind of was working like flat out from March till sort of the end of November, doing all the holiday parks I could and the flybacks for Thompson and stuff like that. So I always made it a point. My kids were really little, and I thought, I don't want to work at Christmas. I want to see my kids grow up and enjoy Christmas while they love the magic of Christmas. And then when they got to a certain age, I was on tour in Wales doing a few holiday parks, and it was 2013. And I contacted my wife and I said, look, Shell, I want to do Panto again. Are you all right now? The girls are getting a bit older. She went, yeah, go for it. And I searched for some Panto companies, and I came across KD Theatre Productions, which were based in Soham. They were having their very first professional year as a Panto producer and company. And I thought, this is too good to be true. I live in Huntingdon. They're based in Soham. The Panto they're looking for is in Ely. It's only 26 miles from my house. So it would be like doing a home gig. I could go home every night, but I was getting ahead of myself there because I hadn't even auditioned. But I sent them an email. They invited me to an audition. And then I gave them 2 ideas. I read for the King, the part of the King. And they loved it. And they said, we'll let you know. And then they let me know like a week later. So the rest is history, because I've worked for that company ever since, from 2013. They kind of, I say they don't want to let me go. That sounds like I'm blowing my own trumpet. But I don't mean it like that. It's just that they always ask me straight away, like, right, next year, you know, let's talk about that. So I'm happy there, you know, so it's quite nice.
And you started off, what was your first role then with KD?
So it was King Crumble in Jack and the Beanstalk. That was the first year that they did in 2013. I don't know whether this got me the part or not, but it's just one of those that I have to tell you. My father passed away on the Thursday, and they sent the script through, or the little piece for me to read at the audition, and that arrived on the same sort of day, and I kind of didn't get my head around it, and I thought, the audition's on Sunday, and I've got a couple of days to get my head around this. And right up to the last minute, I was thinking, I don't really know if I want to do it this year. What with my dad passing away. My dad was a huge inspiration to me, like through my comedy. He'd tell me what was funny. It'd be like pretty Joe Blunt about it. He'd go, no, son, that ain't working. And I'd try out material on him, and he'd go, yeah, I like that. Or I'd do an impression, and he'd go, yeah, I love that. Yeah, that you've got that impression. You've nailed that. You're brilliant. And so when he passed away, I thought, right, that's it. I'm giving up the stand-up, which I did make that decision, that I'd retired from stand-up comedy that particular year. And then as I was driving over there, I remember saying to the girl who I've worked with loads since then, Lucy Bell, she's cracking to work with. And I remember saying to Lucy on the door, as she took my name, I said, I don't want to start the X Factor sob story and have the sad music playing in the background and say to everyone, look, my dad's just died. I said, but he literally has just died on Thursday, and I don't know whether I really want to be here, but I've got a couple of ideas for the King. And she went, I'll go and let them know. She said, but don't worry, I'm so sorry. She was beautiful to me. She went in and told them, and as I walked in, there was like a long walk of shame to walk towards them, and I could see them at the end of the room, and they were all sitting behind it, and I thought, I don't really want this feeling of feel sorry for me. So I said it straight away, and I went, look, I know she's told you my dad died on Thursday, please don't feel sorry for me or anything like that. I just want this audition. I said, the only thing I haven't learnt these lines, so if you don't mind, I'll just read them off the script, but I've got a couple of ideas. And they went, oh no, honestly, we totally understand. And I had 2 ideas for the King. One was in a Basil Fawlty sort of style, right, okay, where are you, that sort of thing. Or the other one was based on my father-in-law, which was like a Northern King. Right, princess, I don't know, you know, that sort of thing. And so I said, look, they're my ideas. And they went, oh yeah, we love them. And they went, can we hear both? So we did the read-through as both. They actually offered me the role on the day of my dad's funeral, which is really weird. So the offer came through on that. And then all the years afterwards, I remember speaking to them. Whenever they speak to other people about it, they say that it was just that Terry offered a different king. A lot of people were going in there doing the same thing, thinking that a king had to be like, oh, princess, now talking like that all the time, and everyone, and they saw 400 people talking like this, and they thought, oh, we want something different. And then they said you came along and just went bang, and gave us these different characters, and they thought, do you know what? We didn't even think about the king being like that, but now we want that king who's a character. And then they sort of kind of turned the king into, rather than just be a straight boring role, it became a comedy role. So it was cracking, you know. And that was that first year.
And then you've moved on to, dare I say it, the Frock.
Well, that's another strange one, Hayden. My dad, I would say, would be spinning, but we had him cremated, so he's not spinning anywhere. But honestly, my dad would go, what are you doing dressing up like that? With the frock on. But what it was, I did the king, and in the January, straight after that Panto, it was a nice success. It was and everyone was raving on about the role. Then Dan, the producer, contacted me, and he said, Terry, he said, would you be interested in playing Dame next year? He said, we've managed to secure another venue. He said, we've got Ely still, but this is not for Ely, this is for Huntingdon, which is exactly where you live. And I thought, wow. And it was just a small hall in the town, the commemoration hall, and it only holds about 210, 220 people. And I thought, God, you know what a great Christmas that'll be, like on the doorstep. But I said, Dan, I don't know. I said, because I've always played like the comic. I said, I'm the slapstick, Norman Wisdom, fall about, pie me in the face, you know, whack me over the head or whatever. I said, I kind of don't know if I'd make a good Dame. He said, judging by the way you do characters, I think you would be. Do you want to give it a go and give me a read through? So he sent me a piece, and I just recorded it on my phone, and I thought, I want to be a different Dame. I don't want to just be a man in a frock. I want to be a character in a frock. And I know that there are a lot of dames out there, and don't get me wrong, I've seen quite a few pro pantos now, and there are some absolutely awesome dames out there, you know, tremendous. But I just wanted to have my own niche as a dame. So I thought, to do that, I'm going to put an accent on. So my first year as Dame Trot, I decided to go Scouse. So I was playing Dame Trot, and I thought, do you know what? I can see Dame Trot as being a bit hard-faced, a bit Lily Savage. So I did the whole read-through as like Lily Savage. She was like, hey, Jack, what are you doing? What's that on your back, Jack? And that sort of stuff. And I'd done the read-through for Dan, and he sent me a message straight back, and he went, oh, brilliant. I love it. He said, can we make Dame Trot Scouse? I went, yeah, I'll do the whole thing as a Scouser. So I did the whole panto as a Scouser. Then I said to them, as a bit of business advice, I said, you know what, guys? I said, you've got 2 pantos going on, 2 casts. If you've got 2 venues, it's only a small run at Huntingdon. Why don't you do 1 week at Huntingdon and then move the panto to Ely and have 3 weeks there? I said, because it's a small area here. You know, it's not a big city or anything. You're also competing with Cambridge. They said, yeah, that's what we're going to consider. And as it was the following year, they then did Snow White, and they merged the venues. So they said, right, we're going to open up in Huntingdon. But it was literally January, I don't know, January the 5th, 6th, the panto had only just come down, and Dan said to me, we want you back next year. I'm sorry to say it, but I want you to play Dame again. Would you play Dame again? This time it's Dame Dolly Donuts in Snow White. We're going to start at Huntingdon. It's a longer run, better money. I went, oh, yeah, money sounds good. So he said, yeah, it's got a longer run. So Huntingdon 1 week, and then we're going to transfer it over to Ely. So there's only 1 week of rehearsals. I went, yeah. He said, but we're also rehearsing in Huntingdon, which will suit you. I went, oh, yeah, that's great, because that's where we're starting. Tech's there as well, so brilliant. So then I thought, right, well, now I've challenged myself. I don't want everyone coming back now seeing Dame Dolly Donuts as a Scouser. And I just thought the name, Dame Dolly Donuts, it didn't sound right if you say it in a Scouse accent. So I thought Brummy. So I went as a Brummy, Dame Dolly Donuts, double D for short. And that was my accent then. So, and even now, there's still some people that are regulars of the panto, and they keep quoting things to me, and they go, "Oh, we'll never forget when you were Dame Dolly Donuts, baking tray." Because I did this there that on the biking try, and they just, it's like become a thing all the time in their house, and they always quote me for it. So because I always try and get a catchphrase for my different dames, you know, what I call the kids, you know. And I think that year it was Dolly Mixtures. Are you all right, Dolly Mixtures? I'm pretty sure it was there. And then the year after that was Aladdin, and as Widow Twanky I went Scottish for that.
You like to give yourself a challenge.
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
you?
So I went Scottish for Widow Twanky because I thought, oh yeah, that's good. And everyone there was called Chopsticks. I want me chopsticks, all right. So that was great. I loved it, you know. And the good thing is, when you've done it, people that haven't seen you before, afterwards, when you do the meet and greet, and I love doing meet and greet because you get to hear all the feedback from everyone. And when they come up to you and they're like, oh, what part of Scotland you from, pal? And I'm going, no, I'm not from Scotland, actually. I'm from... You're not Scottish. I thought you were Scottish. You know, and that is a huge compliment. If someone thinks that you are actually from their area, you know, where and that happened with the Brummie accent, and it also happened with the Scottish one, where someone thought I was from their neck of the woods. But
You said you write as well now, and
Yeah.
you're part of the writing team of the Pantos. How early in the year do you start writing?
well, what started happening with that, with the writing side of things, was that during the Panto, Dan would supply the script, and then as we were rehearsing, I would go in Dan's ear, being the experienced member of the team. I'd like to call it experienced member of the team, of course. I'm going to that king voice now, of course. And I'd go, Dan, you know what we could do in this scene? If he says that and she says that, and I come in, oh yeah, that's a good idea, let's try it. And then that's kind of what we did. And then the more I did that, Dan would go, oh yeah, that's good. And then we'd try something else. And then I think it just happened, I'm trying to think what year it was. It might have been Aladdin. I started writing, well, actually, before that, I actually wrote my own opening bit that Dan would leave it blank. And he'd say, well, you're a comic, you can write your own opening bit as Dame. And so I'd do the opening bit and that would be it. And then I maybe change one or two gags later on and go, no, I don't like that, Dan. Yeah, of course you can. And he'd give me license to do that. So probably around the Aladdin one was where I got on board with the writing. And then Dan would send me the script. It used to be, well, Dan would always say, I'll send it to you by September. And I'd get the script about sort of November. And then he'd go, have a look at that for me, Gauch, and see what you think. And then I'd be looking at it going, oh yeah, change that. And I went, I hope you don't mind, Dan, but I've changed these things around. And then Dan said, look, I've got an idea. I'm going to write the script, bung it over to you. You make the changes you see fit throughout the whole script, and then we'll do it that way. And that's it. And then he offered me a writing fee, and from there it's just snowballed. And we make a good team as writers, because Dan does all the, I call all the cack, you know, it's all the stuff that you got to get your head around, the scene here and where they are. And I say, look, you just place the characters in there, and I'll give them the words. And it's like, yeah, right, okay. And he puts the waffle in there, and he says, you sharpen it up however you want. And I've got more and more creative with the writing because I love writing. And now I kind of, like when we redid Jack and the Beanstalk a couple of years ago, I wanted to make Jack and Jill like a cheeky little couple, you know, rather than princessy and all sweet and innocent. I said, let's give them more of a role, more cheek about them, like the young kids who go on Instagram and that sort of thing, and step away from traditional Panto characters. And that's kind of where we're at now, which is great. I love it. I love writing for the various characters rather than just me and developing mine. So,
For your Dame, where did you get your look from?
The first year I did Dame, I had no idea what I was doing. I promise you that. There's a picture of me somewhere, and I look back and I cringe, and I think, Dan, how did you... Because I think I just put blue Snazaroo paint over my eyes, and then I put some eyebrows on, and I put some rosy cheeks on, and I did a bit of lipstick, and honestly, I looked like a bag of cack. And I look at that picture and I go, oh dear. And then I started looking. I know it sounds daft, but I kind of got more serious about it. You know, I know it's Panto, but Panto is a serious business at the end of the day. And I thought, I don't want to go on stage looking like that anymore. It was all right for Dame Trot, and the reason why it was all right for Dame Trot because I just thought it was a one-off, and I was never going to be asked to do Dame again. Dan would go, yeah, all right, that was great. You did like a Lily Savage type impression, and that won't happen again now. We'll put you back to being king or something. And then And then when he said, "Would you be Dame Dolly Donuts?" I thought, I've got to learn to do some proper makeup. So I just started googling different faces and different dames, and I even went back to the Les Dawson. I mean, Les didn't do anything, did he? It's some rosy cheeks and a blob of lipstick, I think that was it, and just walk on. But Les Dawson, you can't top that man, can you? As a dame, because it is Les Dawson with a frock on, and you just know what you're going to get. But I kind of play it somewhere in between because I like doing characters and I like being something different, So the makeup, and I've got better and better at it now. And all the guys that I work with that work in the industry with me, they'll go, "Oh, your makeup's fab, Tal," And I'm going, "Oh, cheers, guys. I have no idea." One or two of them go and do the drag scene, and they're complimenting me on my makeup. I'm like, "Oh yeah, cheers. I have no idea what I'm doing." I mean, I didn't even wear false eyelashes for the first 2 years, I think it was, or 3 years. And then the girls started going, "Gauci, why don't you wear?" I went, "Oh no, I can't stand my eyes being tinkered with." And then I started putting false eyelashes on, and I do that now. I'm a dab hand at that as well.
A lot of dames I speak to are hoarders. Do you keep your dresses?
No, I don't have anything to do with that. Dan sorts out everything because Dan was the original Dame for KD, and he's kind of relinquished the role and made me Ely's Dame, as he calls it. I don't say Ely's Dame. Dan calls me Ely's Dame, but he's kind of moved over and said, "No, I prefer producing and directing and writing and doing that side of it. You get on there." And I just go, "I don't want to get involved with the dresses. You tell me what we're having, and then I'll write the gags accordingly." So a lot of the time I don't really have a say in what I'm wearing, and I don't have this wardrobe here. I can't take you, Hayden, I can't take you upstairs and show you my drawers.
So many dames have.
I bet they have.
Over this almost 3 years of the podcast. What do the family think of it then? What do the kids think?
I think it was a strange one. The first year that the girls saw me, they didn't know what to make of it, but very lucky, really. My girls are in performing arts as well. The eldest one doesn't want to touch performing arts now. She's sensible. She wants to be a lawyer and earn proper money. And I've said, "Good girl, well done. You do that." The youngest one, she's 15 now, but she wants to be in performing arts. But both of them back then, when I did my first pro panto with KD, they were in dancing. For my wife's a dance teacher, Michelle Gauci, School of Dance, and they were learning dancing there, and then they kind of got into it more and more. So when Dan and Kat auditioned the kids for the Panto in Huntingdon, which was the year after, so that was the Jack and the Beanstalk in 2014, my girls auditioned for it, and of course they got in on their own merits. It was not backhanders or anything like that. Dan and Kat went, "Oh, they're just naturals up there. They smile. They know how to entertain." I said, "Well, they come from two parents who trod the board." So, and that was it. They've one of them has performed with me ever since. Really, she's near enough in every show that I'm in, which is fantastic. I get to see her growing up in it. So they kind of, from that perspective, that they kind of understand the industry, But when they've not been on that particular, because the kids don't do all the shows. There's different groups of them. So when they come and watch the show, I love when they say to me afterwards, "Dad, you know what? Even though we've heard you rehearsing the script at home, you still make us laugh." And that is whoa, that's like music to my ears. Definitely. Even just saying it to you, just my kids saying to me, "You still make us laugh, Dad." That's yes. If I can make my kids laugh, I can make anyone laugh, because you're their dad, aren't you? And if you're not cool, I don't know, there's a thing. And a dad wearing makeup and dresses is not really a cool thing, is it? You don't want to go to school and go, "Guess what my dad's done this weekend? He's been dressing up as a woman and putting on a silly voice." It's what? What, really? But now I'm not that bothered about it, so. Yeah, I think that's the thing, though. My kids are kind of used to it.
How do you like to play your dame, then? Do you play her rude or saucy, or...?
I try and aim the dame for the adults. However, I have always worked in the industry of the holiday parks and stuff, and my wife and I go out and do a thing called party animals at weekends on the odd occasion, children's parties, and I always play the idiot and the slapstick character there. So I kind of bridge my dame somewhere in between, because I know I still want the kids to love me as well. I know there's a lot of dames out there that kind of go, well, the kids are not really for me. I play to the adults, and the comic is for the kids. And I know that seems to sit somewhere in Panto world, that people want to play it like that. Me personally, school performances are really difficult for me, because the script is obviously geared for me, aiming my stuff more at the adults. And when he's got 4 or 5 teachers who daren't laugh, and they're all sitting there going, oh, no, don't laugh. And you feel like you're absolutely dying up there, and you think, oh, no, the kids are not getting me. So then I just try and tone the dame down a little bit, so more kid-friendly, say some silly things on stage, or maybe get involved in a bit more slapstick. So, yeah, I think that's more the way I kind of play the dame. I try and play it for everyone, but there's always 1 or 2 little gags in there just for the adults. You know, if they get it and they come along on the journey, great. But if they don't, well, let's just carry on, move on. It's not about me, is it? It's about the show. It's about them enjoying like the story, and we're there as a subsidiary of that, being the comics. So that's what I say.
Who have been your comical influences then? Not just for Dame, but in performing in general.
Oh wow, I've always loved comedy. My dad was mad on comedy, like as I was growing up as a kid. So I probably started off watching the Peter Sellers films. That was probably the first thing of comedy that I can really remember. The Pink Panther films, you know, if you remember those, with Inspector Clouseau. And my dad used to like absolutely idolise Peter Sellers. And then from that, I remember watching stuff like the Two Ronnies, the sketches from them, Cannon and Ball. They were on, and like Saturday night was just brilliant, wasn't it? Like, we had like Little and Large, then Cannon and Ball were on there. So like all of these people growing up. But when I got to actually working in the industry, I mean, I love Tommy Cooper, and I still remember watching him die on stage on that night. And I remember standing there with my dad, my Uncle Gary, and we were just going out, and we watched Tommy Cooper collapse on the stage, and my dad and my Uncle Gary were absolutely howling, and they go, oh, that guy is just so funny. And then we went out to this local club, and it being a Sunday evening, you could take children in there then. It was like a social club, and they were going out for a beer. My Uncle Gary didn't live down here. And then they went out for a beer, and as we were there at the bar, the lady behind the bar said, oh, you know, Tommy Cooper died tonight. And my dad went, no, leave off, we've just been watching him live at the Palladium. And they went, no, he actually died on stage. And like, well, that was one of those things that really shocked me, you know, as a kid growing up. But so Tommy Cooper was an influence. I love Norman Wisdom stuff, loved his films. When I started working, as I was going to say, in the industry, one of my idols became Bob Monkhouse. I never appreciated Bob Monkhouse as a child. I always thought he was a smarmy git, right? That would be the first thing I'd say, smarmy git. Then in 1990, when I worked with him, you know, and he was there on the holiday park as a Star Cabaret weekend, I went and got his autograph afterwards, and I'll never forget it. He was standing there in his boxer shorts, and he had socks on with the braces on the socks, and he was standing there, and his wife answered the chalet door, and he was getting changed, and I went, oh, Bob, is there any chance you'd sign that? And he went, come in. And I went in, and he signed to Terry the and I've got it somewhere, to Terry the Demon DJ, Bob Monkhouse. And I just said to my mum and dad, my opinion of Bob Monkhouse has changed. Then I got his autobiography, Crying with Laughter, and that is an awesome read. If you've ever read it, it is a fantastic read. If you haven't, I would urge anyone. So Bob Monkhouse became a huge influence. But then comics that I loved were Billy Connolly. I just love his style of storytelling. In the modern world, modern comedians, if you want to call it that, I like Lee Mack stuff. I like Lee Evans. I like Mickey Flanagan. So yeah, broad spectrum. But even now, I'll still watch an old comedians DVD or video or stuff that I find on YouTube. And I love Charlie Williams from back in the day. Ken Goodwin. Settle down, Albert. I'll have bellyache, won't we? I love stuff like that, you know. It's great.
That's uncanny, that.
You know. And I think it's because I used to do a lot of impressions. So, again, if you can do impressions of comedians. I remember one agent approaching me and saying, why don't you do a Lee Evans tribute? And I was going out, I was doing all right as myself at the time. And I went, no, because I like doing impressions of different people. I don't want to be one person. I've got nothing against tributes, and they make a lot of money, and good luck to them. But I don't want to be Lee Evans. I don't want to be a Lee Evans act. And there was people calling me Lee Evans, and I didn't even know who the guy was. And they're going, oh, mate, you're not like Lee Evans. And I'm going, I don't know who he is. And they're going, yeah, but you're doing him now. And I'm going, I don't know. What are you talking about? They're going, but that's him. And I'm going, I don't know what you mean. And they're going, you're doing him. And I'm going, I know, no, this is me. No, that's Lee Evans. And I used to have these debates all the time. And then I thought, I've got to watch this guy, Lee Evans. I watched live at the West End. And I thought, I can't see it. I can't see me and him. And then there was another story where we were at a club one time. And I was out having a social. And I was with my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, Michelle, and my sister. And there was these guys behind me, and as I'm talking to them, they went, look, I ain't being funny, but I think it might kick off in a minute. These 4 guys are like pointing at you, and I think they're taking a mickey. This was my sister saying that. And I went, oh, great. So I thought, oh, well, I've got to front it out. So I went over to these lads. I went, lads, you all right? And they went, mate, we're in hysterics, sorry, but we're just watching you from behind and you're not like Lee Evans. I went, oh, right, okay. Oh, well, so anyway. And I think I stood there for about the next 20 minutes entertaining them.
Well, this leads me on to my last question.
Yeah.
Your dream pantomime. So you can be in it, you can be in the stalls watching it, you can choose the production, the cast can be alive or dead, and you can choose the venue as well.
Wow. That is a deep question, Hayden. Yoicks. I'll get back to you on that. Oh, yoy. That is difficult. Well, if they had to be alive or dead, I think if I had to see a comedy double act on stage and bring them back, I would be Laurel and Hardy for me. I just think their timing, they are just, to me, from 1930s, you just think that it still stands the test of time today. And if you go and watch good panto and you see a good slosh scene, and I know there's a lot of like health and safety at work and all the rest of it now, so there's a lot of things that people don't tend to do on stage because they don't want pie on the floor. But I think if you could bring back Laurel and Hardy and stick them in a pantomime as a little comedy double act, that'd be brilliant. I would all be comics for me. That's the problem with me. I would love to see a young Norman Wisdom playing like the comic, maybe a Buttons, because I just think he had so much empathy when he sung "Don't Laugh at Me Because I'm a Fool." You want to cry watching him sing it, and yet he's a comic. And I think if someone like Norman Wisdom can bring that to a stage and have you howling with laughter 1 minute and then crying with laughter the next, and being like on his side, could you imagine him as Buttons? That'd be superb. I don't think Laurel and Hardy would be the Ugly Sisters in this pantomime, though. I haven't got roles for them yet, but it'd have to be Cinderella. I think would be, because I think Cinderella is probably
could be the maintenance men who are decorating
that's it,
for the ballroom. Yeah,
the ballroom, and the chandelier goes. Yeah. So I nicked that one from Only Fools and Horses, and the chandelier comes down.
I'm swinging on.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be brilliant. Yeah.
Who would be your uglies?
Wow, Ugly Sisters. That's a real tricky one. That. I'd probably go Les Dawson as one, and what was the guy that used to play? Is it
Roy Barraclough?
Yeah, Roy Barraclough. I nearly called him Alec there because he was Alec in Coronation Street.
Alec Gilroy.
Yeah.
Sissy and Ada, weren't they?
Yeah, I think. Because to me, there's the blokes in the dress, like gimmick, but also they're.
I don't know if they could be evil.
Yeah, but I just think they'd be funny though, and I don't think the Ugly Sisters should be too evil. I appreciate that you need a bad guy or a bad villain or whatever it is, whether it's Snow White, whatever, Aladdin with Abanazar, and I appreciate those villains are. But I still think Ugly Sisters. There was 2 guys, and I don't know what their names were, but I went to see Bobby Davro. I took my family to see Bobby Davro in Cinderella, and Denise Welch was in it. But these 2 Ugly Sisters, I think they were from Sheffield or something like that, and we just happened to get front row seats. And of course, I'm in the business, so it's one of those that I know I'm going to play along with it. If I get picked on, I'm not going to see them just freeze on stage. And they came on, oh, he's all right down there, are you, love? You all right? What can we do for you? What's your name? But you're always in front row, aren't you? And I'm going, oh, Terry, like that. And then I'm getting a bit embarrassed, but I'm thinking, come on, just play the game. They're only like, they've got to pick on someone, they'll love you. And they go, are you Terry, love? All right. And then every time and I thought they were brilliant, but I just can't remember their names because they weren't the big stars. But obviously Bobby Davro and Denise, they were the big stars of this particular panto. But these 2 lads that I don't know where they are, don't know whether they're entertainers, what they do, or whatever it is, or whether they just come out of panto season, but they were fab. Their comedy time was brilliant.
I'm sure somebody will find out.
Oh, that would be good. If someone could just tag those guys in, and then I just remember at the end of the show, obviously they'd appreciated me, like, not trying to upstage them or anything like that, and just giving back and just enjoying and going along with whatever they said. At the end, as they come out for the bows, they went, thanks. They gave me a little thumbs up and a thanks, mate. You really helped us out there. And I thought, oh, that was lovely. That was really nice from them, because they didn't know who I was.
Just as an aside, could you see yourself ever playing a baddie?
I have. We went only a couple of weeks ago. We went on to a small theatre, and we put on Treasure Island, and I played, which we wrote a brand new script. It's very loosely based on Treasure Island, and I played Blackbeard, Bandido, a ghostly Mexican pirate. So I put on a Mexican accent. Hey, amigos! I was like, Dad, you have raised me from the dead. And come on! But in it, just as a nice little side gag, we had to disguise ourselves to get on board the ship. And we wrote in there that I dress up as like Senorita. So then I just put this horrible lipstick on. I just tie my hair up. So I'm now Blackbeard, but I'm now being Senorita. So I go, hey, Captain Charlie, how are you? And I put on his sweet little voice, he's Senorita. And then I have to play that part. And then I'm flipping between the two voices. And Sean Rollo Rollinson, if you know who he is,
Yes.
Sean he was playing Captain Jolly, and I love playing opposite Sean, or Rollo, as he is in the business. And his son Tommy was in the show. Tommy J, fabulous entertainer. Name dropping now.
Yeah. He's going to be on as well.
Tommy J, he's a smashing lad. For an 18, I think he's 18 now, but that kid knows everybody and anything there is to do with show business. He knows all the old faces. And he was telling me he can't have a conversation with kids his own age because they don't know who Tommy Cooper is. They don't know who Ken Goodwin is. And yet, when we work together, smashing lads. But, so I have played a villain. And I do like playing a villain. Albeit it's still edgy on comedy, because I don't like to be too scary.
Yeah.
And maybe I like getting the booze, just for something different. And I don't mean the booze under the cupboard there and the Bell's whiskey and all that. Not that sort of booze.
So back then to your panto, who'd be your cinders?
Wowee, my cinders. Oh, that's a real difficult one, that. I don't know. Do you know, I couldn't even... that'd be so difficult to choose someone. I'm desperately trying to think of someone that I think has just got the voice of an angel, who's sweet and innocent looking. But I can't think of anyone. Every woman I know in the industry is nothing like that.
What about your Prince Charming?
Prince Charming again. I'll be honest with you,
aren't they? The good-looking people.
They're always good looking and smarmy. They've got it all, haven't they? They can sing, they can dance, but they don't get the laughs like us, dear.
What about then Dandini? See, Dandini's a bit.
Yeah. See, I'll be honest with you.
Strange one.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I've never seen Gary Wilmot, or I've never seen the London Palladium Panto, despite the producers of like KD producers, Cat and Dan, always tell we must get you and Michelle to come with us and come and see the Palladium one. However, I have heard that that's predominantly like people doing their acts. It's not really a panto as such. It's kind of a bit of everything. But you know what I mean? It's like that's what I've heard. I've never seen it, but I've heard that like Gary Wilmot is fantastic as a dame. And so I kind of like think, maybe Gary Wilmot could play a part in there. But see, Julian Clary, I mean, there's stuff that Julian comes out with that is just absolutely outrageous, but he can get away with it. He's Julian Clary. You know
what you're getting.
Yeah, of course. if you've paid money to go and see the London Palladium, that's what you want. Surely that's what you want. It's no good going there and then saying, Julian was a bit near. Well, that's his act. That's what he does. So I don't know. Let's just have a curveball in there then. Let's just put Julian Clary in there just so I can see him as Dandini.
And where would you like your dream panto?
Oh, we'll have it at the Palladium. Why not? We'll just we'll have it there so we can just see.
You haven't cast yourself though.
I'm not in that calibre. I don't see myself in I watch other people on stage and I never ever think that I'm in the same bracket as these people. The people I've mentioned, and there's a whole host of acts out there. To me, they're just legends. If people can walk on stage and make you smile or laugh, or straight away you sit up in your seat, or I can't sing or dance. I literally struggle with those things. I have to work so hard with the dance routines at Christmas time. It like pains me. And singing, yeah, I'm all right in a group singing, but stick me out there as a solo and I'll just go, oh, you know. I think Billy Connolly once said it's a goose farting in the fog. I think he used that phrase, but that's what it would sound like. So I never, I mean, yeah, wouldn't it be great to play alongside these people? You know, if you said to me, yeah, you can play in the Palladium and be a character alongside these people, I'd love to. But the Palladium's not everything. Just because it's the Palladium, there's other fantastic venues all over the country that are, and I'm sure the people that go to see all these pantos go, this is the best panto you'll ever see. Forget what you've heard about in London or Birmingham, the Hippodrome. Now there's someone, Matt Slack. Oh, you know, Matt I've known as a cabaret artist for a lot of years. Now Slacky, brilliant. You know, super guy. There's Brian Conley. There's so many that I haven't even named. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You could give everyone a night off the way I'm going, couldn't you? You have a cast of about 1,000 and go, you only have to do one show.
Well, Terry, thank you so much for taking part in the Panto podcast.
Thanks, mate. It's been a pleasure. Cheers, pal.